everybody. GM. Clemente, do me a favor. See, I can't see Vinnie coming up as a speaker, so I don't know if that is me or if it's, and if I've made you co-host. Are you able to let me know if you can see that?
Yeah, he's not requesting. I've invited him, but maybe he might need to leave.
Ah,
here we go.
I thought maybe he just wanted to listen. I thought maybe he just thought he'd been invited along to listen in.
GM.
Hey, Vinny. GM, everybody, friends, welcome to episode 25 of Rug Radio and NFTs Beyond the Floor with me, Ben, the NFT 101, your host, following 24 wonderful episodes, all now available as a collection of podcasts via Spotify and Apple Music. Go there now, follow, download, and listen back at your leisure, as we have started a comprehensive breakdown of Web3 progression, as told by builders, artists, and founders with real intent. Our focus remains on the importance of storytelling in Web3 and the power of narrative to make a project unmissable. I open the series on Mondays and Thursdays at the same time, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 midday Eastern, and 5 p.m. here in the miserable, wet, rainy, horrible UK. Today on my panel, I have Tom Youngs. Hello, Tom. I know you are in and out. Bex. Hey, Bex, how are you? Hello, Bex.
Having technical issues, it would seem. Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Are we
all good?
Is everything still up together and all good?
Yeah, everything's all good. Just been busy working,
Excellent
waiting
news.
for this baby.
Excellent news. Clemente, hey man, how you doing, buddy?
Amazing. I'm excited to chat and hear what Vinnie has to say. I think this is our first or our most kind of artist-driven show that we've had, so I'm really fired up.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey Zerk, how are you, Zerk?
Big man, how we doing?
All good, man. All good. How are you? I thought you were out on the. I thought you were out and about.
Out, but excited for this one. Yeah, I am, mate. It's a bit of delay.
Okay.
Apologies.
No worries. All right. Well, you can speak occasionally then. For those of you who joined me on Monday for our feedback session after 23 episodes, thank you. It was great to get some real-time feedback on the spaces we've been hosting to date. I'm going to make some adjustments on the show going forward, including open mic Thursdays. So I think the intention remains to keep bringing a project in to join us each Monday. And then Thursdays, I think why don't we just catch up on what's going on, bit of reflection, opportunity for people to share what they're working on. So yeah, next week, we have, so Monday the 21st, we were due to have Creeps Overlord, but they have double booked me. And so we're looking for another date with them at the moment. So watch this space. I have a really cool replacement coming in, and I will let you all know about that very, very soon. And then, yeah, from the 24th, Thursday the 24th, our Thursdays will be open mic. And I think it's a really good opportunity to just use it to talk. I want to talk about content creation a lot. Like, I want to talk about what people are doing, how they're doing it. And I want to make it a space for all of you guys to come on board and really give us some feedback on what you're seeing in the space and what's going on. So yeah, really, really interested to hopefully get some positive feedback on that. Back to today. Today we have an artist whose work, for me, is among the most standout in Web3 and beyond, to be honest. Like, I'm really trying my hardest to keep it together, which is not what I did 2 weeks ago at NFT London when I met him outside a bar in London, when I absolutely fanboyed like a loser and went, "Oh, Vinnie, I love you." Yes, the creator of the 1,000-piece collection Letters, which dropped in October 2021, over a year ago. Welcome, Vinnie Hager. How are you today, Vinnie?
Hello. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming up, and I promise to do a better job of keeping it together this time.
Oh, it was a lovely time meeting.
Yeah, so October 2021, that you are OG. So you've been in the space and around the space for a long time. How's it been to have a collection be out there for over a year already?
It's a little surreal. I think this past year I can't tell if it's either flown by or it's gone incredibly slow. So I'm thinking I'm right in the middle somewhere. Every month has brought something new and exciting, and it's all because of my Genesis collection letters. That was kind of like a starting off point for me in the space. Even though I had minted kind of some one-of-one works months prior, but I think a true introduction to me and my artwork in the space was letters. So it's been a crazy year, and I'm excited to see
amazing. Well, look, quick admin before we get going. Format of our spaces is intended to be pretty open conversation. I have our panel of speakers. I have you, our guest. We'll kind of see what we can do in about 45 minutes, and then at the end, let's look to invite some people up from the audience to maybe give a view or ask a question. Before we do that, you will all notice that I've changed my PFP, and some of you may have noticed this PFP rocking around for the last day or so. I've just pinned a tweet, and essentially the woman in the tweet here kind of contacted Moonpig, and Moonpig, the birthday card people, not Moonpig, Moonpay, my God. And she kind of somehow managed to convince them to accept a challenge. And essentially the challenge is if I can get 500 people to change their PFP to this, and you can see it's mine, there are two actually, then you'll give me $25,000, which I can spend on getting artistic and technical, like tech equipment to like underserved communities, children, all through the States and stuff. $25,000 is an incredible amount of money to be giving 100% of it into a charity like this. I've pinned the tweet, and I would recommend you all have a look at it, and I would recommend as many of you get involved as possible because it's a very, very simple action, and it can do great things. So yeah, there we are. Right, back to it. Vinnie, best place to start is like maybe introduce yourself and your background, and then perhaps just give us like an indication of like your journey as it has been as an artist, kind of maybe from IRL kind of times all the way through into Web3 and how that's worked.
Sure. Yeah. Well, again, thanks for having me. My name's Vinnie, and I think the way usually when somebody's like, "Hey, like, can you introduce yourself? What do you do? How do you do it?" I always harken back and say that I was like a very creative, artistic little kid, and always running around with chalk or coloring books and things like that. And I guess that was like the start of my art journey in my life. But really started to take things, I guess, a bit more seriously in middle school. I kind of, couldn't pay attention too well in classes, and started to like doodle and scribble and fill space on all of my handouts and my paperwork in middle school. And that kind of led me to this pattern and shapes and symbols style of drawing. So it all kind of was fueled through there. And I kind of just kept on rolling with it and explored traditional artistic materials and mediums, obviously like works on paper and drawing on different papers led into trying on canvas, and that led to like exploring drawing on clothing and things like that, and working on murals. So I think for me, I was always interested and excited to explore as many different mediums and materials in art making as I could. And I think that ultimately led me to buy an iPad and kind of start to draw digitally. And my kind of style of drawing always kind of stayed the same, whether it's shapes and symbols or characters or imagery kind of jam-packed together. That all of these things kind of filled space in different ways. And I think my kind of Web3 NFT journey really started maybe right before the pandemic, so like 2.5 years now, which is kind of crazy to even think about that. But I was doing a lot of airbrush, like physical airbrushing, like clothing and rugs and home goods and stuff like that. And I went and dropped off this rug to somebody that had purchased it through my web store, and we just got to talking, and he was like, "Hey, do you know what like NFTs are in Decentraland and these things called whales. And he was just like using all these buzzwords. At the time, I guess they weren't really buzzwords because I wasn't too familiar with them. And he kind of explained it to me and how, it's all these kind of digital artworks that people are buying in digital land, and kind of piqued my interest then. And at that time, I was just starting to just normally post my artwork on Twitter just to use it as another social media, and started to follow a lot of artists on here, and saw that they were also posting about NFTs. So it all kind of culminated all together and ultimately led me to mint a couple artworks just to learn about the experience and to explore different marketplaces, and then ultimately to put on my thinking cap and wanting to explore a bigger collection and ideas, which then were my letters collection. So that's I guess the short synopsis over the past two and a change year.
Wow, yeah, and it's a real I guess really well timed. You've come into the space at a moment where there's a real we call it the bull run, I guess, but that there's this whole wave of euphoria that's happening in the space, and that's very, very different to where we're at now. Like, I guess your artwork has a real defined, distinct style. Like, people will know that it's a Vinnie Hager they're looking at immediately. What was your inspiration behind that style of work? How have you ended up there in that space with your particular style?
Yeah, I think maybe before I started to take my artwork super, super seriously, I was, influenced by, as like a 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kid, like graffiti. I was super inspired by that, and like line work and things like that. I never really partook in doing graffiti myself, but like keeping my eyes to the streets and seeing kind of different art styles. And I watched, I'd have like a stack of graffiti books and street art books, and watched a lot of documentaries about that. So I think that was really an inspiration for me at the time. And then, my childhood house had a lot of artwork up on the walls from like Joan Moreau and some of these older kind of traditional painters that had imagery and iconography and these kind of different things. Now that I'm kind of thinking or talking about it out loud, I'm kind of realizing some of my other like childhood inspirations and where it may have came from. But I think the one deciding factor was, probably not being able to pay attention in class. So I just would doodle all the time and just scribble and scribble and scribble, and kind of started to draw the same things over and over. And one of those happened to be like the letter and the eyeball and these flowers and different things that I still draw to this day. So I think it's just, repetition played a big part and was a big inspiration somehow in my artwork, and just kind of doing the same thing over and over until it kind of became recognizable or noticeable in different ways. And yeah, I think there was an assortment of different things that inspired me and that still inspire me now.
And it's interesting because obviously, like, each of your letters is a one of one, and they all have different names and things like, So I'm curious. Like, you say repetition, yeah, there are lots of little icons that kind of spring up all over. But I always ask this question in the show, particularly for projects that are kind of trying to build like a brand around a game or something, or a different kind of level of IP. And I ask them what storytelling means to them. And I guess with each of these letters, there's a story behind it. And that's my assumption. And you should never assume, my mum told me, but here I am assuming anyway. What does storytelling mean to you and the art and letters as a collection?
Yeah, I think at that time, like I was mentioning earlier, I had minted a few one-of-one artworks and just kind of wanted to learn more about the space. And I realized early on, like, the importance of what you mint and why you minted, and it's going to be there forever. The blockchain's permanent and things like that. So after I kind of minted a few pieces, I took a step back and really just started to listen into Twitter Spaces, and Clubhouse was still kind of a thing. So I was listening there and just creeping through what other artists were creating, why they were creating it, what bigger projects and founders were doing, and why they were doing it. And I kind of just took a step back and realized, like, okay, I'm an artist. I have this style of drawing that I'm known for. Maybe what could be my place, or what could I create that could stand out in a different way, and kind of a through line through my other artworks previously, and of course my physical and digital artworks. Like, where could a larger body of work fit, and like why do I think it's important to create it? So I hadn't really seen artists come out with bigger collections, let alone be all hand drawn and hand titled. So I just thought that was, I guess, a touchstone that hadn't been, or at least that I hadn't seen before. So I kind of saw my letters collection as like a traditional gallery show almost. Traditional gallery shows are, they have a title, an all-encompassing title, and then each artwork in the show is related back to that title. But you can view the show as a whole with all of its artworks, but then you can also take your time with each individual piece, and those have their own stories and their own ideas and their own imagery, etc. in them. So that's how I kind of treated letters. I wanted the collectors or whomever minted them to, relate to the pieces, whether they liked it by the colors, the imagery in it, or the name. The collectors then have their own thoughts and feelings and ideas around the piece, and then I also have my own reasoning for why I created them, why I colored them that, why they're named that. And recently I started to do this little segment in my Discord and on Twitter where I just give context to each letter and what the meaning of the titles mean and kind of break it down like that. But I just like the allowing people to see the pieces and then come up with their own ideas, because then it fuels me and helps me learn more about that. So I think there's a lot of different ideas there, and I'm just interested in what other people get from my pieces and what they put together by the title or the imagery or things like that, and then I've been slowly sharing maybe my reasoning around them.
I love that, and I love how it becomes multifaceted in the sense that it means something to you, but it means something to everyone who owns or holds or views it, and that's a really interesting concept, actually.
Yeah.
Before we
And
keep,
I think,
go on, carry on.
Oh yeah. Oh, just to touch on that for a second. Yeah, I just think Web3 has opened up like a world where collector and creator can have a really close dialogue, and I think that's really important to for artists to do, and also, I mean, bigger projects as well. But it might be a bit harder with larger communities compared to a small art focused collection. But yeah.
Well, let's keep talking about that then, and actually let's talk about what it has meant to then curate as alongside a collection. What it's meant as an artist to curate a community, because I came into your Discord this week. I wanted to do a little bit more research and have a look at what was going on, and there's a really engaged group in there, and it's no mean feat to keep a group engaged in that manner for as long as you have already. And so, what has it been like? How hands-on are you? What are you collectively working towards as a community? And I don't mean utility and all of that nonsense. I just what are you guys working on in that Discord, or even if it isn't working, what's your collective passion?
Yeah, for sure. I think a little over a year and a half now, when we kind of opened up the Discord, we wanted to, we're an art focused project. Me, my manager and friend Toby, my friend Dose, who helped out with the project, and my friend Rico, who helped out. We just kind of wanted to culminate a group of people that were interested in artwork and wanted to talk about artwork. And I guess in a weird way, specifically my artwork, which is still weird to try to talk about, and to realize that there are people out there and a community that has formed around it, which I think is incredibly special. But just having that as kind of the jumping off point was something special. We weren't in there talking about floor price or all those other buzzwords that we always talk about, but just talking about artwork and talking about what everybody's doing in that day. Like, it's just now kind of like a larger group of friends that share ideas, talk about artwork, talk about life. And something that we just announced the other day, I see him in the crowd, Scout. We just made him a mod in our Discord, because he's there every day just talking, chatting, asking people what they're up to, and helping engage in the conversation and in the broader scope of my artwork. So, when people are in there every day, we see it, we value it, and we kind of want to uplift that. So I think as a whole, I get feedback and responses from the things that I do and post and the artwork that I create through the community that's there. And I always keep that in mind, and people are always vocal and asking me questions, and I try to respond to everything that I can and be in the Discord every day. So to me, it's a normal part of my day, and I just like to see what people are up to, what they think about, and then specifically if it's catered towards my artwork or what I'm creating, or I guess my art career, then I'm always all ears and want to just see what people have to say, and I take it. Good criticism, bad criticism, all the above. So I think it just helps to have a lot of people around or in a Discord that you can feed off of in positive ways. So I think there's a lot there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. It's exactly what we're trying to curate with this show is, let's not talk about floor price and let's not stress ourselves out with whether we're winning or losing or we're up or we're down. Let's talk about what we're all into and what we're all passionate about. And I think that really comes through. And I see Scout is a cool cat holder also. And I know that you have a cool cat.
We love the cat.
Yeah. I know that you are really kind of in with the cool cat community and you have your cat that's kind of a real reflection of you. I'm eager to talk a little bit about that. But actually, I think more than that, like I'd love to know a bit more about your NFT collection or your art collection. Like what your work aside, what are you into and what do you enjoy in the space and beyond?
Ooh, well, one thing that I've been wanting to collect more physical artwork. I just got a new home, so I want to kind of furnish that in certain ways to look at different things every day. So I've been like collecting some friends' physical artworks, as well as some digital artworks. I think as I was preparing for the show, I was looking through my wallet to see what artwork I've collected over the past few months to a year, and I've definitely gotten some artwork from artists that I am inspired by and enjoy their work. So I got like Jake the D-Gen. I got one of his Internet Explorer pieces. Jake is, a legend in his own right and always pushing things forward in the space. So I had to get one of his pieces. I have a Terrell Jones Moo. It's like a digital painting of a cow. So I love them. An Emotional. He creates his Fediverse, which is this little purple rat. So I have one of his pieces, and just all these different kind of art Twitter kids that I met, a year and a half ago, 2 years when I was getting on Twitter, have now skyrocketed in their own accord in their own careers and putting out editions and one-of-one artworks that sell out super fast. So sometimes you got to be quick, and even if they're my friends that I've talked to for a while, I always try to support and where I can, and picked up some photography from some other friends. And I think in my physical art collection, I'm lacking, but I have what do I got? I'm walking around my house right now. Alex or Alec with a Q. I have him and me. We're friends in real life, and I have a physical painting of his, and a few other little frame things around. But yeah, I definitely like to do both, and I want to continue to collect from all sides. But it's always tough. I mean, there's always so many moving parts and so many things on Twitter that you can only keep up with. So stuff sells out quick now, especially for like one-of-one artists or
sure.
Artist edition pieces. So it's always tough. But I always when I see something pop up quick, I try to support where I can.
I sent a message to my friend Christina just before I came on a moment ago, and I said, Vinnie Hager on today. I'm really excited. And she said, I love him so much. I was on him really early, and I've got one of his Bitsky pieces. You can't buy them anymore.
Let's go.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, you really do need to have an eye for it if collecting and your kind of like portfolio value is something that's important to you. But I guess more broadly than that, it's about something that really appeals to you, right? And so I'm curious. You create digitally. You do create physically as well, and you kind of that graffiti side of things, like at I think maybe the first NFT NYC, I saw an article where you turned up just outside a store with a big blue door and you just kind of did your thing on a big door. Like, how much of that kind of just turn up and get creative are you still doing outdoors so that people, the public, whatever, can come along and see what you're up to?
Oh yeah, I love doing stuff like that. This past weekend I was in LA, and we had in Venice at Collective Gallery. I had a bit of a retrospective show, so kind of featured on these display screens. One of my first NFTs on Rarible, up and through the Bitsky pieces, and then some 101s on Known Origin and Foundation, and then lastly displayed my letters collection. And we had the opening night on Friday, and encouraged people to bring random stuff, bring whatever you want. I'll draw on it, I'll customize it, just for fun. We had like a big drawing session, and some people brought, this guy brought a chessboard that I drew on. Other people brought, note cards or shoes or other clothing. And, I love the ability just to be like, hey, like I'm at this event, or, we're throwing this event, come by. Like, I'm always open to chat, talk about artwork, and then customize and draw on different stuff. So
I think
amazing. That's the great thing about it. Yeah. Kind of, everybody's on Twitter all day, listening to Spaces, keeping up with Discord. But when there's these other events going on and people come out in real life, which is even weird to say, it's always good just to I'll give you a physical app to take along with you, where it's just a drawing or something fun. So I try to do that stuff as much as I can.
I work with Philip Colbert, who's an incredible artist, and he's just been running an exhibition. It's on still actually in Rome. And he's got some really big, physical, big statues. And he keeps talking about he's showing all this artwork off to all of these people in Rome. And I think the story I've heard him tell most is the one about the restaurant he went to and the fact that he drew one of his lobsters on the menu, and then he went back a couple of weeks later and the menu had been framed. And it's funny, but it's funny, isn't it? Because these are the things, as an artist, that was something that really kind of struck him. And you've said something similar, like that's something that you really enjoy doing. I would love I'd love to know how many people turn up with Nike Dunks or Air Force Ones. I bet you that's the most drawn on thing for you. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I think like NFT LA, people were just asking me to draw on their shoes.
Yeah,
they were still wearing their shoes.
It's exactly what I would
draw on them. And they just had random expensive shoes, and I'm like, are you sure you want me to kind of scribble on these things? I don't know. But
100%.
It was a good time.
Bex, hey, I can see you've got your hand up patiently. Sorry.
That's okay. No, really interesting conversation. I'm a huge collector of art and love digital art, and I think your work's amazing, Vinnie. I actually wanted to kind of ask about the business side of the art that you do. On your Twitter profile, it says that you're repped by United Talent, and I think what's quite interesting about the Web3 space is that a lot of it for artists is about cutting out that middleman and making your own kind of generative wealth. From being able to take things in from marketing to publicity to everything into your own hands. And I'm just intrigued to kind of know, we've seen success stories with Jenkins of LA being repped by CAA and things like that. Like how involved are talent agencies in helping you within the Web3 space, or are they actually purely helping you in real life on a different kind of journey within your artistry as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great point. I remember maybe a year and a half ago, prior to that, I was doing a lot of my own. I was like a bit of a one-man army. Obviously, do all emails. I was doing a lot of physical clothing sales, so shipping, customer service. I was just doing everything kind of by myself, and I realized that I was getting to a point in my quote unquote, artist career that I really wanted a helping hand. I wanted a bit of a team to just talk to and share ideas and say, oh, is this right? Should we do this? How can we do this? Can you help me with that? So I was always open to having a team around. And luckily at that time, I got this kind of miraculous DM from my now manager and really close friend, Toby Lasso. And he helped out with the Letters Project, and he got a team around us of developers and other people to help out. So it's slowly putting together this team of creative people that had their own skill sets and their own creative ideas. And it really helped me form my ideas and kind of where I wanted to go. And it was an extension of my artwork. And these people that I started to surround myself with and work with, they would, want to protect me, but they also wanted to, share my artwork as much as they could and wanted me to focus on the artwork. And that was always a sentiment that I really felt strongly about. And then kind of 6-7-ish months ago, I got kind of looped in with UTA, and was just interested in the fact that they obviously are a huge talent agency, and had connects and opportunities and ideas for an artist like me. And it fell kind of in my lap in the most perfect way. I'm not too much focused on the money or the money making. I rather try to explore how I can get my artwork shown in different places, in different arenas, in different materials and mediums, and kind of the exploration of all of those by using a talent agency or signing with a talent agency. They would have the ability to be like, hey, we have this opportunity. What do you think about it? I'd be like, oh, that's great. Or let's take the meeting. Or if I had an idea of something, I can bring that to them, and then they can help execute in whatever way that they seem fit. So I think, to me, I'm just incredibly excited to see, well, one, we have some other stuff coming up, projects, partnerships, different brands that we're working with, which I'm excited about, but then also like what the future holds. And like, if I just have a random idea for something, I have an outlet to go to be like, hey, is this possible? Can we do this? Like, I know I have some crazy ideas, but so I think it's really great that I have a bit of a team around me, whether it's the agency or my management company or some assistants that help me out. It's just, to me, it gives me a sigh of relief that I have people that want to protect me in certain ways, but then also I can reach out to with ideas and kind of all of the above. So to me, yeah, an agency has helped greatly, and it's to me, and the kind of place where I want to be as an artist. It's been really helpful. But I do echo the sentiment about like artists getting into Web3. They want to take custody. They want to do it all by themselves. But I think for me personally, that got a little too much, and I needed some help in different ways. So it's been really helpful.
Great question.
Great,
Bex.
thank you. Oh, thanks. I was just going to say thanks to Vinnie.
You said earlier putting your thinking cap on, and I note that your PFP is you wearing a cap, and I know when I met you, you were wearing a similar cap, and I've been on your website and I can't see these caps, but I'm curious, like how much of your artwork are you hoping or expecting to kind of carry through into product that people can purchase that isn't like outrageously expensive? So things like caps and t-shirts, and and I'm not going to use the word merch because I don't,
for sure,
I don't believe that's what you'd be,
I love that.
I don't think that's what you'd be creating, but I'm
Thanks.
curious, like how much of it do you want? How accessible do you want your work to be going forward?
For sure. Well, I think it's two kind of different ways of thinking. I want maybe what I mint or what I put on the blockchain per se to be very thought out, very meaningful in different ways, like my letters collection, like the things I'll be minting and posting about the rest of the year. Like those things are kind of meaningful, but things with like clothing or smaller drawings and these kind of more accessible not as expensive things as maybe my NFTs, like I'd want those as accessible as possible. I've been doing these like web store releases on my own little web store, VinnieHager.store, for like 4.5 years now, once or twice a month, whether it's the trucker hats or it's pants I've drawn on, or it's ski masks, or it's screen printed t-shirts, or it's little lighters, like little just things that I want to explore in different ways. And I forgot where I watched it, but it was some like random art documentary on YouTube or something, and this artist was saying, this new generation coming up, they love design, they love art, they love supporting brands and artists and all this, but sometimes kids in their late teens into their early 20s, even late 20s, they can't afford a big painting in their house, they can't afford an expensive NFT, but they'll support you with a $30 t-shirt. And then also it's just they're walking around with your artwork on themselves all day and talking about it and getting questions and things like that. So that kind of sparked a thought in my head a while back. And it's like, people want to support and be there. And if they like it, they'll try to support it any way they can. So that's why I like to make, the hats, the ski masks, t-shirts, kind of any of those kind of wearable, tangible things I think is important as well.
I heard Jeff Staple talking to Farouk on Rug Radio a couple of weeks back, saying exactly the same thing. Like he was thinking, how on earth am I going to I'm painting all of these things in my apartment in Brooklyn, and I've got $10,000 worth of stuff in my apartment and no one can see it, and I can't get into a gallery. What am I going to do? And so he kind of found the screen printing side of things and just started making t-shirts and gave them to a few people, and that became his advertising. That became his brand. And then, well, we know where we are now with Jeff Staple.
Right. Yeah. I think as like artists, I mean, if you're an oil painter and you paint landscapes, maybe that's a little tougher to kind of get on a t-shirt and sell. But if you're, type of artist that's more into graphic design or just design in general, like there's more ways than one to kind of put your artwork out there in different facets. And I've kind of seen that in my own work by just exploring, whether it's drawing on paper, turn to doing bigger paintings, turn to drawing on clothing, to murals, to posting on social media. Like there's all these kind of different ways to post and get your artwork out there. instead of just being alone in a studio making a ton of paintings and then go, well, what do I do with them now? So I think it's different for different artists, of course, and you kind of have to find your own through line and your own ways to do it all. But yeah, it's super interesting when I kind of think back on it.
You've done work with Keith and the team at Time Magazine. I saw that you were a part of the Slices of Time collection, and I know that you've done other bits and pieces. What's it been like working with Time? Like, how did that relationship get? How was that formed, and what's it been like working with such an established brand like Time?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to even think about it. I had somebody had sent me a photo. I think it was like one of my great cousins, like my grandma's niece or somebody. I was on the phone with them the other day, and they were like, "Oh, we were looking at an older issue of Time magazine, and your one of your artworks was in there." And that was just like a weird kind of fun coincidence to relate back to like the normal non-Web3 world. But the relationship has been great. You know, they've all been so lovely and so open to helping out with anything that I've done. But that Slices of Time timepieces, my artwork came up because it was Time invited one artist, and that artist was allowed to invite another artist. So Klon from the Cool Cats, they invited him, and he was like, "Of course, I got to do it with Vinnie." So him and me both did ours side by side. So that was like another cool kind of surreal moment. Like, you know, Cool Cats was such a big part, and their community was such a big part in my success and my, I guess, upbringing in the Web3 space, and then to, you know, start to become really close friends with Klon and hang out, and then being able to do kind of collaborative works together, especially with Time, it was really serendipitous and like a sweet moment for me to do.
Amazing. How Clemente, 1 second, and then straight to you. How amazing was Cooltopia at NFT NYC?
Unreal.
It wasn't
my favorite thing.
It was my favorite thing there. Yeah.
That thing needs to go on tour.
Honestly,
it just needs to go to like every state.
I came away from New York and I was like, there were certain communities that did amazing things, particularly the Creeps. Their gigs were just incredible. But in terms of like activation and in terms of what the developed IP of a PFP project could become, it was like Disneyland. Like, it was just off the scale good. I was so impressed, and I talk about it all the time. I went with one of my colleagues and friends, Axe, and we were, both of us, absolutely blown away by it. It was amazing. Yeah, so you work a lot with Klon, or you hang out with Klon. Like, what's that like? He's another kind of inspirational artist in the space.
Yeah, he's the best. I hung out with him the other day. We got ice cream and talked about artwork, and then we drew for a while. Him and his wife Jeej, Jeej got a spot in LA called Custom Land. So it's like all this like fun art materials, making clothes, airbrush, chain stitching, like all this fun stuff. So every time I go to LA, we all meet up there and get food or draw and hang out and chat. So yeah, it's kind of weird just to like, you know, to come from seeing his experience, his rise in NFTs, Cool Cats, etc., looking up to him to some degree, and like then just becoming friends. Like, it's lovely. It's like a, you know, another person that I can reach out to with questions or ideas, or, you know, just chat about life. You know, so it's
that's really nice.
Again, serendipitous.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Clemente, sorry, sir.
No, not a problem at all. Vinnie, I know we talked about this a bit earlier on the show, that you minted out your letters collection in end of October of last year. Fast forward to today, it is a completely different landscape, I think, for an artist, given the market conditions, given the kind of royalty debate. We don't necessarily have to go into that, but I'm curious, like, if I would love your honest take on, like, if you, instead of launching back then, started your collection today, what would you think? Like, would you feel like you'd be able to have the same level of success that you've had over the last year if you were able to launch today? Or would you have to pivot and do things differently as an artist, given the overall landscape of what's going on today?
Oof, crazy one to think back on. I don't know where I would pivot now. Because I mean, I want to say there's a lot of noise in the space, but noise is like a bit more of like a negative connotation. There's just like a lot of stuff going on all the time, every second. There's always 10 Twitter spaces with X amount of people in them. Like, what do you listen to? Who do you follow? Where do you go? what artists are good, which artists are bad, who's good actor, who's like. There's just so much going on. It'd be really hard to kind of pinpoint exactly where to start. So I'm not sure. I don't know if I'd have the same level of success or things like that if I didn't start back then, because everything just seemed to move a bit slower. I mean, even though it's only about a year and a half, that time has gone by. There's just a lot more going on in the space. Obviously, the market talk and things like that, but I don't think that totally affects what artists should do or how they should feel or how they should create. But it's a tough one to look back on. I don't know how I would pivot. I definitely spent. Oh shoot! I just had to burp. Excuse me. Just burped like a throat frog or whatever it is.
Do you know what? We didn't hear it. You could have got away with it, Vinnie.
Drink water.
I mean, there is no right answer at the moment, and Clemente, like, yeah, I mean, maybe we should ask about it as well. Like the last week in the space has been a bit nuts, and if I'm honest, I've sort of had enough of listening to like the crypto brigade. I'm really interested to kind of gain your perspective as an artist on the state of the market, but perhaps maybe a little bit more about like the outlook for the future. Like, what do you hope for the Web3 space from an artist's perspective for like future generations, or for
for sure
in the next 12 months? I don't know, like, but I'm really curious.
Yeah, I think in my own kind of work mentality, my own quote unquote art career, my own kind of life, day to day, I try not to like plan or think too far ahead. Like I try to think like 12 hours ahead, because anything can happen. And sometimes if you're not in the loop or you don't know what's going on in so many facets of your life, it's hard to like plan for everything. So I don't know what the next 12 months to 3 years will look like. I have been trying to like keep up with, I'm super interested in all the tech side and, of course, all this, FTX jazz that's going on, everything. I try to like listen to as much space as I can just to like learn and absorb it and try to, see what's going on, keep my ears to the streets, if you say. But I think artists will continue to prevail and continue to do great partnerships, create great artwork, mint in different ways, explore tech in different ways. That's what I'm really excited about over the next, XYZ years, 1, 2, 3, 20 years. So I'm excited about that, but I don't know too much about where the markets and everything will go. I try not to pay attention to price as much or all this kind of crazy hubbub, but I think it does affect some people's mentalities, or like, oh, should I even bother trying to mint my artwork now? Will people buy it? Or is everybody too scared? Or what's going on? Mm-hmm. I think you just got to kind of stick to your guns and kind of believe in what you want to believe in and put in the work to get to where that is. And I don't think a lot of these outside factors are going to affect too many things, but of course I still have a positive outlook for Web3 and NFTs as a whole. I obviously don't think they're going anywhere ever. They're only going to keep expanding in different ways, and hopefully that they're expanding in the ways of putting art and art focus kind of things to the forefront, instead of maybe all the hype about PFP projects and these kind of things. I don't know, a lot of different thoughts about that one.
Yeah, I think and all really great thoughts, like this notion of trying to. I think we're at a stage. Genuinely, I believe we're at a stage where all of the people who are going to get really, really upset in this downturn, like they're now at their loudest, and perhaps a lot of them have actually exited. And I think what we're left with now is a whole group of people who agree that like get rich quick is gone. And now we're all here because we appreciate what's going on. We either appreciate it from an artistic point of view. We appreciate it because of how it gives us access, either as a creator or a founder, to a community, or as a community member to someone who, like your what you just mentioned there about Klon, like the fact that you were such a fan and now here you are hanging out, like that idea of just the access, how close creators and communities, fans can become, I think is just such an exciting thing. So I actually went onto a Spaces about an hour and a half before this one. I came up and I was like, I got invited to ask a question, and I said it's more of a statement. I would like everybody in Web3 who is really passionate about it to like open a notes page in their phone or in their diary, their journal, or on their desktop. And I'd like them to make sure that they write a very quickly accessible list of things that they love about the Web3 space. So like friends they've made, communities they've joined, art they love, projects that they're looking forward to seeing develop, brands that they can't wait to see come in. Because we're about to go into the holiday season, the festive season, where we're all going to bump into our family members and our friends who are all going to say, I read about the market crashing. What the hell are you lot doing over there all day long? And so I really hope that people get their kind of battle plan ready so that when they get challenged, as they definitely will, they can at least turn around and say, this is not wasted time. This is the future. And I've met some of the best people I know, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
I love that. I think that's a great idea. But also, as you were talking, like I was trying to think, like, okay, if I were to like exit, I don't think I would ever exit, but like if I did, what would I do? And of course, yeah, I'd still paint and still draw, but like my day to day and the things I look forward to and things that I'm excited about all revolve around this space. And like my day to day is just fueled by Twitter Spaces, listening to Twitter Spaces, being on Discord, working on digital projects and partnerships and meetings. And like, I don't, yeah, I couldn't fathom the idea of just like exiting just because like prices going down and we're, the future is weary. But I think there's still so many people entering the space, big brands, great artists, the little artist to the big artist, whomever you are. Like it's just still such like a positive outlook. I think most of that, people say on Twitter Spaces, everybody still turns up every day. And if you want to exit, that's fine. But I think there's just so much more exciting things to come and to explore. And, the best is yet to come, I would say.
That's a great sentiment. I agree. What about your future? Like we've spoken about the space. What are your plans? Like, have you got anything really, really exciting, like another drop or a big activation? Are you doing anything in Miami? Like what's coming up for you?
Yeah, so I think right now I'm getting my Art Basel plans together. I think I'm going to be a part of like 5 to 6 different events in different capacities, which is really, really exciting for me. I'll definitely be posting about those more. It's not letters focused or like my NFT collection focus, but more about, me, my artwork, live drawing or displaying artwork there at different events. So I'll be posting about that. But my next drop which will hopefully be, I don't want to say in a few days. I haven't pinpointed the date yet, but I've been lucky enough to be one of the first creators in a batch of artists to mint a digital collectible through Instagram. So I'll be posting more about my artwork and my editions within the next few days. So that's what's coming up next, and we got a lot of other stuff coming. But the main thing is Instagram/Meta. And they invited me to be one of their first creators of a digital collectible through Instagram. So I'm going to be posting about that. Yeah,
is that alpha? Have you already shared that, or am I getting exclusive?
I think Meta tweeted just my name in the list of the other artists, but I haven't.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, no. I mean, I haven't posted too much about it, and I don't think there's been too much other than I know Drift did his edition release. Cool Man Dan, he did his, and then Amber Vittori, I believe she already did hers. And there's a list of maybe 10 to 15 creators total, me being one of them, which, incredibly ecstatic about that. It's a bit surreal. So working on the details of that, it'll be an edition of 50 of the same artworks. So excited to post more about that. So that'll be upcoming,
really cool.
Few days.
Can't wait to hear more about that. Yeah. And this is another barrier to entry dropped, right? When you can mint an NFT on Instagram, we're getting close.
Right. I mean, like another crazy thing, like the huge players, Instagram and Meta. Like I don't think the at least the art aspect of the space isn't gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Vinnie, I'm out of questions, so I'm. If you're happy to stick around for another 10 minutes or so and take some from the audience, that would be amazing. If anybody wants to raise a hand and come up and ask a question,
invite all the friends up.
Yeah,
party for 8 minutes.
Absolutely. If anyone wants to ask Vinnie a question about anything that's going on, or any plans, what it's been like to create in the space, please now is the time to come up. And I try and drag that out until someone does it. Oh yes, thank you. So I've got Issa Tray. That is my guess at how that is pronounced. Issa Tray. Hey, Issa Trey, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm okay. Have I pronounced that correct? Issa
Yeah,
Trey?
exactly. Correct. 100%.
Woo.
Yeah.
Legend.
Yeah, Vinnie, I just wanted to say, hey, huge fan, obviously.
Howdy.
Yeah.
Big fan of yours.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I was just digging around because I saw this space happening, and I was like, oh, man, I know I have my ski mask somewhere. We just moved. So I was trying to find the ski mask, and I just found it. So it's pretty cool. So
I love that. Yeah, I was, what was it, not too long, maybe a few months back, I was driving around LA and just looked up and saw one of your big pieces on like an LED screen. I think I DM'd it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw your piece over there.
Yeah, that was super cool. That was with the crowd from Vellum, the Vellum LA crew.
Right,
hooked
right.
me up there. But yeah, that's so cool you saw that, and I appreciate it.
So funny.
Yeah.
And it's just, I love seeing that now. I'll see some other friends in the space that I know, and I'll just like randomly see their artwork at different, either on a building, a billboard or something. I'll go, whoa, it's so crazy. Like all the art kids from Twitter are like doing really fun stuff and great things. It's lovely to see.
It's the greatest. It's the greatest. I had a question for you though.
Sure.
Is there going to ever be an official collab with the post office? I think you teased something about that or something one time.
Ooh. Yeah. No, see, that would be nothing official yet. I've been trying to figure out how to do an official stamp. Like they always invite artists to do stamps. It goes on all year long. And I'm like, how do I get my name in that drawing? How do I make a sick official stamp? I would love to do that. And then I also like kind of jokingly tweeted like, how do I become the creative director of the post office? I don't know what that would entail, but it would be fun to like redesign the uniforms, redesign the post offices, redesign the trucks.
Dude, that would be so
that.
sick.
But maybe when I'm like 45 or something, I'll pivot to that. But time will tell.
That's amazing. And I think the idea behind stamps as well, Issa Trey, great question, by the way. Thank you. But yeah, the idea behind stamps in the UK, we're all having our stamps redesigned right now. We've got for the first time in many people's lifetimes, we have a different person's head on our stamp.
Yeah, when I got to London for the first time, I was walking around with Toby Lasso, and I like stopped dead in my tracks. And I was like, oh my God, there's a post office. I mean, I knew there was post offices, but it's just like a funny thing just to like see my first post office in London. I was like, dude, it's right there. And Toby's like, it's just a post office. Like, I don't get it. I was like, no, you don't get it.
Did you enjoy London? Like,
I loved it. It was too short of
before?
a trip. I hadn't. That was my first time out of the United States at all.
Wow.
First international place. And I was proud that it was London, but yeah, I mean, it was a busy week, so I didn't really get to go and do too many touristy, little adventurous things, which I wish I could. So I think maybe the springtime, I'm going to go back for like a month or two and work there and then just like adventure around and kind of take it in. I've been thinking about it since I left. Like London was great and really want to explore it some more when the weather might be a bit nicer.
Incredible. Well, when you do that, please reach out and I will set a studio tour up with Philip Colbert, who I said I mentioned a moment ago.
Oh, would love that. Yeah.
Incredible artist. I know he'd love to meet you and give you a tour of his studio. It'd be incredible.
Oh, would love that. Thanks.
Okay, well, look, I don't have anyone else coming up. So we've obviously been incredibly comprehensive, Vinnie, and it means I get to let you go 4 minutes early, which is wonderful.
Look at that. No. Well, it was such a pleasure talking. Thanks for the invite. Glad we got to run into each other when we were in town. And
yes.
Till next time. So
honestly,
we can do the in real life spaces next time I'm in London. We can just sit and chat.
Please, and to be honest, like hearing now that was your first trip to the UK, to have bumped into you in that manner, like I feel very, very privileged. And it's been fantastic having you up. It's been a really nice, relaxed chat. And
lovely.
A real privilege. And I'm going to turn it into a podcast, which I'll share with you, and you can share with your community. It's always great to get an insight from the founder of any project like this. Sure. And so thank you for being so honest. Thank you for being so open. And Bex and Clemente, thank you for coming up. It's Issa Trey. I nearly got it wrong. Issa Trey, thank you for your question also. Great to meet you too. I've just given you a follow. And everyone, Vinnie, thank you so much for your time. And I will be sharing next week's spaces very, very soon. Thank you for joining us again. And have a wonderful day, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world. Be safe, take care, and big energy.
Thanks for having me. Ciao.
Take care, Vinnie. Thank you.
Bye.
I have turned the song of this beautiful land, but that beauty a rich man world. I have turned the song of this beautiful Reach